Bible in a year, making it easier to understand.
Hey, I'm just saying, that leftovers night lasagna was still perfectly fine. A little extra aged, sure, but totally fine.
It was growing a sweater, John. A literal fuzzy sweater. But honestly, that actually leads us right into the mess the Israelites are dealing with today in Exodus 16. It is officially day 30 of their big out of Egypt road trip, and the snacks have officially run out.
Oh, it's way worse than just running out of granola bars, Steph. We are talking a full-blown supply chain crisis in the middle of the wilderness of sin. And can we just talk about that name for a second? The wilderness of sin? Now, the scholars say it's actually just a geographical name, probably related to the word zin. But man, if the name fits. Because the Israelites are about to show us exactly what the wilderness of sin looks like in our own hearts.
It's so true. I was reading through this, and the 1 month mark is such a real-life moment. You know that feeling when the excitement of a big change wears off? The honeymoon phase of the Red Sea crossing is over. Their feet are blistered, their water bottles are empty, and their stomachs are growling. And what's the first thing they do? They don't just complain, they rewrite history.
Oh, it is the ultimate selective memory move. They look at Moses and Aaron, and they're basically like, remember those massive all-you-can-eat buffets back in Egypt? We used to sit by the meat pots. We had bread to the full. Guys, you were slaves. You were making bricks under the sun and getting whipped. But now, suddenly, Egypt is a 5-star steakhouse in their minds just because they're hungry.
I think it's so relatable, though. When we're in a wilderness season of our life, maybe a hard job or a health struggle, don't we all start romanticizing the past? We start thinking, man, things weren't that bad back then, even if back then was actually miserable. We prefer the satiated stomachs and death of our old life over the life and hunger of the wilderness with God.
Here's the deal, though. God doesn't smite them for it. Not yet, anyway. He hears the grumbling, and he's like, all right, I'm going to rain bread from heaven. But, and this is a huge but, he's going to do it with a set of manna rules. This wasn't just a grocery delivery. It was a test of their obedience and their trust.
Wait, I love the name manna, because in Hebrew, manhu literally means, what is it? Can you imagine? Every morning they wake up, look at the ground, and just go, what is that? It's like frost, but it's flake-like. It's white like coriander seed, and it tastes like wafers made with honey or pastry with oil.
It's straight up bread from heaven, Steph. But here was the catch. The no hoarding rule. You gather exactly 1 omer per person, which is about 2 liters, and you have to eat it all that day. If you try to play it safe and stash some under your bed for tomorrow because you're worried God won't show up again, boom, maggots.
Ugh, I can't even imagine the smell of 1,000,000 tents full of rotting, wormy manna because people were too scared to trust God for tomorrow. Moses was actually angry with them. It's such a picture of how we try to hoard security. We want to see the whole month's provision at once, but God is like, no, I'm going to teach you how to pray. Give us this day our daily bread.
Exactly. It's a test of equity, too. The Bible says the person who gathered a lot didn't have too much, and the person who gathered a little didn't have a lack. God was creating this manna economics where everyone had exactly what they needed. It was a 40-year training session in dependence.
And then there was the Sabbath rule, which is actually the first time the Sabbath is mentioned to the nation of Israel. On the 6th day, they gather a double portion, and that portion doesn't rot. God was literally baking rest into their schedule before he even gave the 10 Commandments. He's showing them that he's the God of the Sabbath, not a harsh taskmaster like Pharaoh.
But wait, it gets crazier. Because the second they get the food situation handled, they hit the next crisis in chapter 17. No water. And they aren't just complaining this time, Steph. The Hebrew word used for their finding fault with Moses actually implies they were bringing legal charges against him. They're basically trying to sue Moses for bringing them into the desert.
It's heartbreaking, John. They literally ask, is the Lord among us or not? After the plagues, after the Red Sea, after the manna, they're still questioning his presence because they're thirsty. It shows how short-lived our miracle-based faith can be.
So God tells Moses, go to the rock at Horeb, the same place where I first called you, and strike it with your staff. And when he strikes the rock, water gushes out. And if you're a deeper dive regular, you know this is a massive Jesus connection. Paul tells us later in the New Testament that the rock was Christ. Just like the rock was struck to give life-saving water to a thirsty, grumbling people, Jesus was struck on the cross so that living water could flow to us.
It's so beautiful. He is the bread of life and the living water. Everything in these 2 chapters is screaming, you can't sustain yourself, but I can.
But then, right after the water miracle, out of nowhere, Amalek attacks. This is the first time Israel has to actually fight since they left Egypt. And it's a weird battle, Steph. Joshua is down in the valley doing the actual fighting, but the real victory is happening on the hilltop where Moses is holding up the rod of God.
This part always fascinated me. When his hands are up, Israel wins. When his hands drop because he's exhausted, they start losing. It's this picture of divine human cooperation. But Moses is 80 years old. He can't hold his arms up all day.
That's where Aaron and Hur come in. They find a stone for him to sit on, and they literally stand on either side of him, holding his arms up until sunset. It's the ultimate community moment. You can't win the battle alone. You need people to stay up your hands when you're failing. And after they win, Moses builds an altar and calls it Jehovah Nissi. The Lord is my banner.
I love that name. It's like a military standard, right? Like, God is the one we're fighting under. He's the reason we're still standing.
Totally. It's about taking the honor away from ourselves and giving it to the one who actually provided the victory. But man, talking about Moses' arms getting tired, it leads perfectly into the organizational nightmare we're about to see in the next chapter.
Oh, for sure. Moses is about to get a performance review from his father-in-law that changes everything. But before we get into the Jethro principle and the Segula mystery, let's take a quick break to catch our breath.
Stick around, guys. It's about to get real practical. We'll be right back.
And we are back. And honestly, John, while you were over there grabbing more coffee, I was just looking at my calendar for next week and then looking at Exodus 18. And I think I'm Moses. I'm officially Moses before Jethro showed up. I feel like I have a million to-dos and only one me.
Oh, babe, you are definitely the chief everything officer of this house. But seriously, chapter 18 is such a relief for anyone who has ever felt like they were drowning in their own success. It starts with Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, showing up with Zipporah and the kids. It's a family reunion. But the very next day, Jethro sits down, probably with a cup of whatever the Midianite version of espresso was, and he just watches Moses work. And what he sees is a total organizational nightmare.
It's so interesting because Jethro isn't even an Israelite, right? He's a priest of Midian, but he sees what's happening with such clear eyes. The text says Moses sat to judge the people from morning till evening. Just imagine the line, John. 2 million people? If even 1% of them has a disagreement about where a tent stake is or who borrowed whose omer of manna, that line is going to be miles long.
Oh, it's the ultimate bottleneck, Steph. Think of it as a modern mirror. It's like a startup founder who has a brilliant idea. The product is exploding. The company is growing at 10,000%, but the founder insists on answering every single customer service email personally. Jethro looks at him and says, "What you are doing is not good." And man, that is such a heavy phrase. In the Bible, when God says something is not good, like back in Genesis with man being alone, you know it's a design flaw.
And it wasn't just not good for Moses, right? Jethro says it's going to wear out the people too. That really hit me. When we try to be the hero and do everything ourselves, we aren't just hurting our own health. We're actually making the people we lead wait in line forever. We become the obstacle to their peace.
Exactly. And here is the hidden gem word for the day, Nabal. Jethro says, "You will surely wear away." That Hebrew word Nabal literally means to wilt, like a flower that hasn't had water in a week, or to sink down from exhaustion. It's the biblical term for burnout. Moses was wilting. He was 80 years old, trying to handle 6 million, he said. She said cases.
I can only imagine the cases Jethro was hearing while he watched. Moses, my neighbor's sheep ate my tent flap. Moses, he promised he'd marry my daughter, and then he followed Athaliah. It's just too much. But John, I love how Moses responds. He's the most humble man on earth, according to the Bible, and he actually listens to his father-in-law. He doesn't say, "Hey, Jethro, I literally talked to God in a burning bush. I think I've got the leadership thing handled."
No, he takes the advice. And Jethro's advice is basically Management 101 before management existed. He says, Moses, you be the vision guy. You represent the people before God. You teach them the rules, the corporate culture of the kingdom, and then you appoint leaders. And I love the tiers he sets up. Leaders of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. It's his leadership pipeline.
But wait, the qualifications for these leaders are so intense. Jethro doesn't just say, pick the guys with the best resumes. He says, look for capable men who fear God, are trustworthy, and hate dishonest gain. That's a tall order in a desert full of grumbling people, isn't it?
It is, but that's the modern mirror for us today, Steph. If we want to scale our impact, whether that's in a church, a business, or even just a busy family, we have to find people of character, not just people of skill. Jethro tells Moses, if you do this, you will be able to endure. That's the goal, longevity. God doesn't want flash-in-the-pan leaders who burn out in 6 months. He wants an organized community where the burden is shared.
It's like Jethro was the first business consultant. He saw that Moses was doing work that others were perfectly capable of doing. When we delegate, we're actually giving other people the blessing of serving. If Moses kept doing everything, those thousands of other capable leaders would have just been sitting around getting bored and probably complaining more.
Oh, definitely. A bored Israelite is a complaining Israelite. That's just science at this point. But here's the kicker. This whole reorganization was about making sure the people could go to their homes in peace. It wasn't just about Moses' health. It was about the shalom of the whole nation. When things are organized and responsibility is shared, everyone sleeps better.
I think there's someone listening right now who really needed to hear that. Maybe you're that person who feels like the entire weight of your family or your small business or your ministry is on your shoulders alone. And maybe God is sending you a Jethro today through this podcast to say, what you are doing is not good. You weren't designed to carry this alone.
That is so good, babe, and it leads us right into the most epic moment of the entire book so far. Because once Moses gets the office work handled, God says, okay, now it's time to meet for real. We are headed to the base of Mount Sinai, and things are about to get, well, terrifying and beautiful all at once.
Terrifying and beautiful. That sounds like a perfect description of what's coming in chapter 19. But before we head up the mountain, we need to take one last quick break.
Don't go anywhere. When we get back, we're talking about what it means to be God's special treasure and why the third day is always a big deal in the Bible. We'll be right back.
And we are officially back for our final stretch today. You know, John, after talking about all the administrative drama with Moses and Jethro, it's almost easy to forget that while they're reorganizing their middle management, they're actually standing at the foot of a mountain that is about to catch fire.
Right? It's like they finally got the HR department sorted out just in time for the CEO of the universe to pull up for the ultimate all-hands meeting. We are in Exodus 19 now. And guys, if you've been following along with the list on our screen, Exodus 16, 17, 18, we've finally hit the big one. Chapter 19 is the arrival at Sinai. It's been exactly 3 months since they walked out of Egypt.
3 months. That's about 90 days of desert, manna, and complaining. But God opens this meeting with such a beautiful, tender image. He tells Moses to tell the people, "You've seen what I did to the Egyptians and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself." I just love that. It's not, "I brought you to a mountain," or "I brought you to a law." It's, "I brought you to myself."
It's the ultimate rescue mission vibe, Steph. Think about it like this. An eagle doesn't just fly alongside its young. When the little ones are too weak or the terrain is too dangerous, the mother eagle actually flies underneath them and carries them on her back. God is saying, I did the heavy lifting. I was the rescue Haley that picked you up when you were stuck in the mud of Egypt. But then, and this is the part that literally changes the identity of the nation forever, he uses this one specific Hebrew word, segalah.
Oh, I was hoping you'd get to this. Segala. If you're looking for a hidden gem today, this is it. Most of our Bibles translate it as treasured possession or special treasure, but the historical context is so much cooler. John, tell them about the king's private stash.
Okay, so in the ancient Near East, a king would have a public treasury. the taxes, the grain, the stuff that paid for the army. But then he had his segullah. This was his private jewelry box, the stuff he kept under lock and key. It was the verified blue checkmark of his possessions. God tells Israel, "The whole earth is mine, but you are my personal jewelry. You are the one gemstone I'm keeping on a golden chain around my neck."
It's such a shift in perspective. They've been slaves for 400 years. They were property to Pharaoh. And now the creator of the stars is saying, "No, you're my property. And that means you are the most valuable thing on the planet." And there's even a connection to the color purple, right?
Yeah, the root of segullah is related to segul, which is the word for purple, the color of royalty. God is basically crowning them right there in the dirt. But here's the modern mirror that really brings it home. Sinai isn't just a classroom for rules, it's a wedding.
A wedding? Explain that, because usually when I think of Sinai, I think of scary thunder and "don't touch the mountain or you'll die." That doesn't exactly scream romance.
I know. It's a dramatic wedding, for sure. But the scholars and the ancient Jewish teachers call this the betrothal of Sinai. God is the suitor, and he's asking for Israel's hand in marriage. The 10 Commandments that are coming in the next chapter? That's not a list of chores. That's the ketubah, the marriage contract. He's saying, if we're going to be together, this is how we're going to live. We're going to be exclusive. No other gods on the side.
And the people's response is so eager. They all shout together, "All that the Lord has spoken, we will do." It's like they're saying "I do" before they've even seen the fine print. But then God says they have to prepare for 3 days. They have to wash their clothes and set boundaries. Why the 3-day wait, John? Why not just appear right then?
It's a consecration period, Steph. You can't just stumble into the presence of the holy God with Egyptian dirt still under your fingernails. They needed time to realize the gravity of who they were meeting. And, get this, it's the 3rd-day pattern again. Just like Jesus rested in the tomb and rose on the 3rd day to bring new life, God tells Israel to wait, and on the 3rd day, he descends in a thick cloud with thunder and lightning. It's a new life moment for the whole nation.
I can only imagine being at the base of that mountain. The Bible says the whole mountain trembled. The sound of the trumpet blast kept getting louder and louder. It was terrifying. Even Moses was probably shaking. But it was all to show them that this God who feeds them bread every morning is also the God of the storm. He's tender enough to carry them on wings, but holy enough to shake the earth.
That is the restful yoke right there. We serve a God who is both a father and a king. He's the provider of the manna, the victor over Amalek, the organizer through Jethro, and the special treasure hunter at Sinai.
What a way to wrap up day 37. From grumbling over, what is it, bread, to being called God's special treasure. It's quite a journey.
It really is. And if you're listening today and you feel like you're in a wilderness of sin, maybe you're tired, maybe you're burnt out like Moses, just remember, God isn't looking for you to perform. He's looking to carry you. He wants to bring you to himself.
That's the heart of it. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into Exodus 16 through 19.
Don't forget to check the show notes for that text message summary to share with a friend. We'll be back tomorrow as we get into the actual terms and conditions of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. You don't want to miss it.
Until then, keep digging deeper.
And remember, he's got enough manna for you today. See ya.
Okay, we are clear. John, seriously though, do you think manna actually tasted like Krispy Kreme? Because wafers with honey sounds suspiciously like a glazed donut.
If it was, no wonder they ate it for 40 years. I'd be grumbling for a double portion every day, not just Fridays.